All right, let's jump into things. Where we at? 10:37 on the 13th of March. Look, there's a couple of places we could start, but since we've got the Aussie chart up here, we'll sort of start with this one. But all in all, it was a big night overnight. So we had CPI, which came in cooler than expected, and obviously with that cooler than last month as well, with a 2 point sort of drop off. So I might as well just flick across to the news quickly, just to sort of recap this one here. But as you can see, 3% previously, they were expecting a bit of a tick down. Same with the sort of month on month. They're expecting 2 point sort of drop there. We've got a 3 point drop, and then a 1 point drop on the core CPI, and that came in 2 points under as well. So all these sort of things here is certainly showing that it's moving back in that sort of right direction. Because if you have a look at those previous numbers, it had just been creeping and creeping, and maybe the chart shows it a little bit better. But we could see that it's been creeping and creeping up last couple of months. So the fact that they can sort of obviously sort of level it off and then sort of obviously beat expectation. We saw sort of market really sort of play into that as well, and the sort of like the Fed have got the two sort of mandates. They've got to sort of keep on top of the idea of inflation, and they've got to keep on top of the idea of recession. And with inflation flattening off, even though it's sort of still above, technically above what their target is, it's at least not moving in the wrong direction. So had this sort of kept going up like this, then they've got to sort of think, okay, well, do we keep the rates higher for longer? Because if we don't, it's obviously moving in the wrong direction. Inflation's getting worse. It's a pattern. It's going to continue like this. What we've seen from this is that, okay, rates at the current level, it's had a little bit of a push up, but all in all, it's flattening off and it's actually tipping and coming down. So the thought is now that it could potentially sort of maybe just range around this area over here. So it means that sort of the rates at their current level are restrictive enough to not let inflation move out of control and sort of see another flare up, leveled up and sort of, potentially sort of range around here, maybe even sort of continue back down and, maybe it'll bounce between the sort of like, say, 2.5 and 3% for the next couple of sort of prints or so. The point being with that is that if that's not the sort of main issue, then you look at their other mandate, the other thing that they're supposed to be sort of, preventing, and that's a recession. And whether they actually hit a recession or not, it's not the point. It's the what the market perceives is the possible chance that they could be hitting a recession. And weak economic data, all this sort of uncertainty, these are the kind of things that is making the market think, okay, maybe we're heading towards that. And so with inflation not being at the forefront, that could take a back seat. At the front now is recession talk and recession sort of fears, so to speak. And with that, we're seeing, obviously a weak US dollar. We're seeing a flight of capital out of the US. We're seeing equity markets really remain under pressure in that. And again, that'd be due to the recession sort of fears. And also at the same time, you're seeing US dollar sell off. So, it's not just that, okay, like I covered yesterday, that, the money's going out of equities and into the US dollar, then out of the US dollar into the equities. It's going out and out. And that's why you're seeing those two things sort of sell down at the same time now. But so the reaction was as expected. We did get a little bit of a pushback up, and I'll get over to DXY because maybe explaining DXY at the same time will sort of give this a bit of a better sort of picture. But like as you can see, it's really just sort of consolidating at the lows down here. So if we get on a low time frame, have a guess where the data dropped. So it was this big sell down just down here. And this was basically, as I just sort of said, that, inflation's not the number one topic. Recession is. How do you starve off a recession? You relax the rates, you stimulate the economy, you get people to borrow a bit more money. All these things are great to sort of, as I said, sort of like, for their purpose to stimulate the economy, get people borrowing money. But it's not great for a currency. And lower rates are not sort of where you're going to put your mass amounts of money. If you've got sort of like we're talking people that have got tens of hundreds of billions that are going to move markets. That's not where they're going to collectively be putting their money in something that's going to be offering a lower return, a lower yield compared to some of the other ones. So obviously, like euro being the main sort of one against the DXY. So that dropped down there as expected, but you got to take this stuff in context and look at where we are and look at what we've seen prior leading into this kind of stuff here. This little shoot down here, the reason we didn't bail and come down here is because it's already been sold down so heavily. It's already on the lows. It's on its knees already. You know what I mean? There's only so much more it can really get hammered at that point. People are seeing these, okay, I was waiting for that CPI. It happened, bang, they got out, boom, came down, filled the wick, and sort of bounced around here. So really, we are still just consolidating at the lows. Doesn't mean that we can't go down lower, but it does somewhat explain that little bit of a sort of pushback up over here, whereas it's sort of like, had this sort of come out and been a shocker, and sort of like, oh, we thought it was going up and it came down, well, people would have been pricing for that, and you would have seen probably a more sustained move. But as it was, it sort of bounced back up, moved back down, up, and it's just, it's just sideways. It's just grinding along this big support area, and this is, obviously something we've had marked out for a long time. This grey area through here. So yeah, I mean, it's down on its knees. It's on the lows. Look, it's hard to sort of say, is this going to sort of bounce back up? Like, maybe this could end up being something to this effect, where you have a bit more of a rounded bottom like this. Certainly, I think up around this area here is where you'd want to see price move above if you're going to see any sort of form of recovery. But again, like this is what I was saying before, CPI, was this the bit of data that was going to give them that sort of, oh yeah, let's start buying US dollar again? No, I think more the bounces or moves up from these levels are just technical bounces. People hitting levels, people sort of closing shorts, moving back up, squeezing a couple of little shorts, because you got to sort of think of these things again in context. Here's the bounce. I thought we might get a bounce to the 23 from when this was the low. Couldn't get anywhere near that. These bounces are super shallow, super shallow. And you got to think, why would you be selling it here when you think you might be able to sell it up here? Because you think it's going down here. So, if it gets up here, you're like, look, just take what we can, just get out. In 2, 3 weeks, it's going to be down at 101. So if we can only get an extra sort of 50 points out of it, let's just take that. That's the mentality. That's the kind of approach. And this is why sort of like when the bounces are very shallow, it's a lot higher likelihood that we see the continuation. And you don't see sort of like a big tussle, because this isn't a fight between the buyers and the sellers. This is just the sellers absolutely slaughtering it, and the buyers sort of maybe sort of giving it a very sheepish shot through here. But again, you've got to be pretty game to be buying US dollar at these points. But I mean, look, if you think about it, just in a week and a half or so, you get a 4%, 5%, 4% discount just from 10 days ago or something, or wherever it was, the start of the month. Yeah, 12 days ago, you've got a 4% discount. That's huge. That is very big for DXY to be moving that much. So there's a reason technical for maybe this to be have a little efforts up here, but till you start getting back up above sort of 104, 104.50, it's really just in this whole sell the rip kind of thing and just hammer it down, hammer it down, hammer it down. So yeah, I wouldn't be first one in to be buying these things at this point, particularly sort of given the data that's sort of coming out at the moment. Weak economic data, CPI sort of cooling. I don't think they're the things that are going to be saying, hey, look, let's sort of buy US dollar crazy. So let's still set down underneath those lows from, was it yesterday or Wednesday? Yep, yesterday. So take those ones out, and that'll be the big trigger to sort of be moving down a little bit further. But as I said, it was sort of big support area, so it's going to take a couple of times. If it does go, that'll be the confirmation, obviously, because number of times to hold it, and still couldn't hold it. So then we're moving down to those 101s. Top side, these are your kind of levels you want to sort of see get ahead. Look, short term maybe over the top of the bounce highs, 103.80, but till you're up above 104, I wouldn't really be thinking too much of it. I think any move up into this area over here is just going to be sold back down into to this sort of effect. Yeah, so above 104, okay, maybe think about it, but again, 104, 40, 50, this kind of area up over here is also going to be sort of acting as a bit of a resistance. So there's a lot of work to be done up this top end. Sorry, top end. Well, top end of this little section move through here. Cool. So flip across and as I said, so onto Aussie if the charts want to upgrade. Boom. So this one played out perfectly actually. So we had the data drop yesterday, came up here, spiked up here, spiked up, came into this zone exactly as we sort of marked it out, exactly as the path had said. Look, we're going to hit here, we're going to reject back down. Of course, yeah, it rejected all the way back down here. But the point is, what's going to happen in this section here? Sellers are going to come in. Why? Because we've seen it previously. This is support, support, resistance, resistance, these kind of areas through the middle here. So, I took bank when we popped up here. I got back in down here, but like I took bank as it came up in this area just to cover it because this was expected that, we've seen sellers here before. It's not going to go through the first time, smack back down. I'm surprised it actually came down so low, but that's all right. Gave us better entries to go for a second effort. And it just ground up all the way through the night. And obviously we're sort of coming up here. 4 hours shows it a little bit better because we're just getting that body fill through this area here now. So if we just shoot this one across, as you can see, body fill of these nice sell downs, there's always a good target. It's always going to be a bit of an area of resistance. So look, it's early. It's at 10:48 at the moment. So we'll start to get a little bit of volume in sometime soon. Actually, just let me have a look here. So DXY, of course, we're coming online a little bit earlier at the moment. It's the smallest of anything, little gaps up. So look, RSI said here on the 4 hour sort of says, look, it's still got a bit of room to move. I would say that definitely we're sort of shooting up here. 39, 63.39 would be a point of interest, and then above that, 63.50. They're the sort of two price targets for me sort of through the day. But certainly, yeah, this has played very nicely. We are actually seeing a flag break at the moment. This is the swing high. So push through here is confirmation. And then we can start to look at, as I said, 39, 50 or 53 and change. But that sort of full measured move takes you back up to 64.30s. So I think there's certainly a little bit more room to be moving with this one here. And as I said, with that DXY, if that breaks the lows and we see another round of selling of US dollar, that's what's going to be sort of feeding here. Because although Aussie's not part of DXY, it's still DXY is a broad sense of a sort of US dollar movement. And if they're selling US dollar across the board, well, Aussie's going to catch some of that by proxy as well. All right, and on to the big one, gold. So this was great. Look, I've been bullish for gold a lot of the time in that. I caught the shorts through this area here, caught some shorts through these areas here. But all in all, it's just to get down to buy a better level in that. And this is a big setup that I've been sort of going on and on about because we're sort of like, it's more of a typical sort of silver setup, whereas you get these lower lows pulling back from a nice solid line. But the point with this is that this is a very bullish continuation setup. We can see it sort of popped up here, just confirmed this line again a couple of times. As that data dropped in that, it actually moved up, shook back down, like it was a very touch and go for a second there. But as we're seeing, it's sort of like, consolidated, broke out, and when it broke out, it just ran nicely. And look, we're opening up now, it's pushing up a little bit higher. Measured move actually of this little smaller flag section here actually takes you back up into those 50s. I guess you could probably update that down to this lot here, but still, again, 29.50 is your measured move price target of this little section through here, coming up to the top. So I would say this has still got a little bit of upside to go. If I can, I want to try and sort of I've closed out my gold positions here. I would like to sort of see if we can get a retest, maybe back down to 25. If we can get a sort of bit of a push down, a shake here, and then to move up here, that'd be great for me. I'd like to sort of get back on board, but I've taken profit at this level and I'm not jumping back in. That's me just telling myself at this point. I am Team 3000, so I do think we are going higher. But again, there's always rooms to squeeze people out. Because the way I see these things is that, look, a lot of people have just switched on and sort of going like, oh wow, did you see gold broke out overnight? Oh wow, well let's buy gold, let's buy gold. They put on their position, they have their, the textbook says put the stop under this little low here. Uh, Poof, they get stopped out. Why isn't trading working for me? The whole thing's rigged. It's all manipulated. It's all against me. Well, no, it's just that the profit doesn't belong to you just because you wake up and turn on Bloomberg News or something and see that gold has gone up overnight. The profit belongs to the people that have done the analysis and they've taken their positions and that. Like I was buying gold down here on this dip the other day. I mean, I'm in out, in out, in out, in out all the way up through here. But just as an example, at least you've got to be sort of trading this sort of thing here. If you wake up and you go, okay, gold's breaking out, and you take your position straight away, look, it can work, definitely, because, we've got a nice breakout. They've done the shakeouts, done the shakeouts, done the shakeouts. There's a limit to how many times they can shake this thing out before people just go like, hey, I know what you're doing. And, it just doesn't happen and it just runs away. Or maybe people try to get a little bit smart and short this little small part through here, instead of just waiting for their longs or something, and so they squeeze those people there. But let's go and drag this across here, see how if we got any movement. Excuse me. But I think sort of like certainly, I took a pretty good bank on this position. So I mean, if I can get back in down here for a retest, it'll just give me that little bit of extra sort of breathing room should it sort of come down deeper, should they want to shake it a little bit further. Just means you're not sort of buying the top with it all. Because as I sort of say, like with all these things every time, you're going up, you're going to find resistance, you're going to pull back. So one second, and back. Yeah, so you're going to push up, you're going to find resistance, you're going to pull back, you're going to find support. It's the three leg thing that I go on about every single day. It's up, finds resistance. Back, finds support. Support will generally be at a previous level of resistance, and then you've got this third leg. So this third leg is the one that is going to determine, are you going to get a double top? And so that's it. That's our resistance confirmed. Are we going to get a lower high, in which case this whole move is fizzling out? Or are we going to get higher high continuation on with the party? Look, a couple of times recently I've seen these things. They just don't give the good retests and that. So you may not get that bit and you may miss this lot here. But at the same time, there's no point buying the very top of it just because you switched on the TV this morning and saw that gold broke out at 4 a.m. So I think that this move will come. I think this pullback here, as I said, I'm looking around sort of 25 or so. This move could come down here. They could shake it like this and come all the way back down here. You just don't know. You got to play it by ear and sort of watch what the price action's doing at the time. But sure as it will happen, you will get some sort of pullback eventually. It could go up the top over here, hit the price target, then pull back. If that happens, well then you got to reevaluate where your entries may be, whether it's a top, how that top's been formed. There's a number of factors. So at the moment, a little bit of a pullback would be great. Shake out some early people getting into this move, and then sort of look for some sort of pullback entry, and then sort of target that 29.50 for a test of all-time highs and potential sort of continuation to then break higher. So yeah, there's definitely some upside to go with this. Just want to sort of see if we can sort of buy some early tiers, so to speak. Let these people get stopped out, buy their positions, and then run it up. Silver kicked on almost up to that previous highs over here. So do we get the body fill? So we got the body fill on this one over here. So if we drag this across, bang, straight through here. These big drop down bits here, big drop downs here. These are good targets. These are sort of areas, particularly these big long ones here. Don't have to go for the very sort of top of, got to fill the wick because you can't tell. There's no specific area and where it's sold down in this little wick area here. So you go for the body fill. You take what you can get with that, and then sort of you move along. But this is a good example. This setup here, as I said, this setup is more silver. You see this a lot with silver. I mean, even if we get down into the small time frame, you can see it here. Solid line, deeper pullbacks, breakout, boom. Go back onto the larger one here. Solid line, deeper pullbacks, breakout, boom. But this one actually gave that nice little back test. So this is what we're kind of looking for with gold. So whereas sort of like, we've got this solid line, we've got the deeper pullbacks, we broke out, came back down, retest, And this is the same sort of thing that I saw. So you're out, you find resistance, you pull back, find support. Support, previous levels of resistance. That's your support. There's your next move. Whoop, there's the thing. And there's your next move. Higher high. Continuation. Moving along. It's finding resistance now. Maybe we see something of a pullback here and then another move up through the top over there. But yeah, it's a very good structural trade at the moment with silver. Breaking this big falling resistance was a great sort of indicator. It's going to take a little bit to get through here, but maybe this will be coming the same time that we see DXY sort of break through. So maybe DXY sort of gives it a little rally effort. We see a couple of these things, take some profit. The profit goes from this, goes into DXY, gives that a little rally effort before the sellers start to go, yep, let's hammer it again. These can then sort of push up, tackle these resistance areas as DXY will be tackling its support areas. That's that cross chart confluence. If we do see this happen, then that could be the time. I think these things are both going to break at the same time. I think we're going to see DXY go for its next leg. We're going to see silver go through 33.50s up towards 34s, and really 34, 34.60. That's a big open bit of space that we can sort of target up there in the short term. So I'm just going to manage a couple of positions. Okay. So moving along, so we had China, so it came down and it just rocketed out of this area. I was like straight onto this thing, had the alerts ticking off, and this is the perfect kind of time that sort of as I said, like profits sort of belong to the people that sort of buy the break of these sort of things. Like I had the alert set here, I put a little post on X. I'm like, oh, check this out, bang, we're going down here, and because this is a big level and it means a lot. We can't even see where this arrow goes to. This means a lot, this level. But obviously, you can see, as soon as it broke, it sort of fired back, thought about it, and then just squeezed to all hell. It did sort of start to taper off, and we are still breaking a little bit lower here now. So I do think we are going through here. I think this is just a little, you bought the break, the technical thing. Well, let's just hammer you, bang, and shot up sort of here. So just stopped out these people. Didn't quite get up here, but around these kind of things, and then eventually boom. I think if we go through this a second time, I'm going to call this confirmation. Through this support zone, through major high time frame support zone. I think this is more just a technical reaction, squeeze some people, really just sort of stuff people around a little bit, and then sort of now we'll see the actual move happen. One sec. Just had to sort of fix a few positions. So look, I do think this is coming down over here. I mean, this is a 15 minutes, so it's very small there. But you can see that this had a little bit of an effort. As soon as this broke here, that was that data, and then poof, came along over here. So I do believe we are destined to be coming down over here. You just got to deal with a little bit of this stuffing around just before that move happens. But these moves can be very good because, I mean, it's like, what's happening. You've got a very high probability of continuation with this now. These kind of moves here, as long as you don't get snapped out, as long as you don't sort of take the position a second that it happens under here, you don't wait for your back tests or whatever, these just provide better entries for the actual move that is going to be happening, moving down here. I'm pretty confident now that we're starting to move down to low sevens over the next couple of weeks with China, with Yuan, USDCHN. All right. Look, I'll finish off with copper. Copper smashed through those targets. We did say I said 488 was the due for a test up. We got these ones here, took out the highs. This thing is really just, it is just pumping, going from strength to strength. Look at how many sort of falling wedges this thing has done time and time again. Almost to the 61, almost to the 61, and then this last one here did get to that 61 and held it. Unless you want to sort of take it from that low there, in which case, kind of almost got to the 61 again. Which one do we sort of want to match up with that? I guess you take the low of that whole move. Look, I'm going to go back to my one here. So theory, technically, this is the low of the pullback here, so that would be the drag through here. But the fact that this went up and then down, up, down, up, down, up, down, I just look at the last part of a move, this section through here, and as we can see, the age-old 61% came in very strong there and provided a nice little wedge for it to sort of launch pad for it to move off from. So if we step right back out, because you need you need copper on at least a 4-hour chart, you can see how important this area is here. Because if we take this and pop this just up over here-ish, is a pretty straight cut down here once you actually get back up over here. So let's put an alert up here. Second effort into top zone. Now this is a massive recovery because remember this was the big push that we had through last year from that large correction that had been happening for a long time, falling resistance, and then bang, that exploded. That was March last year. I remember I was just on my way to Japan, and woof, that was a big run. And look at the sort of just the back and forth we've seen since with it all, and it's just more recently been cutting through, cutting through, cutting through, cutting through. Look, eventually it'll have a little bit of a pullback, but that's why I just put this alert here, because if we go through this level here again, we're testing those highs. We're going to be coming back up over here, and if you zoom out even further, we can see how crucial these levels are. You know, these are the high highs. So, you know, very much in bullish mode with copper here at the moment. And this is going to help Aussie. Honestly, it's going to help Aussie sort of push on a little bit more as well. So, in the short term, you can see it's sort of obviously people took their little profits and it's just consolidating around this area here. Little trend line here. Yeah, look, again, I don't want to buy the highs with us all, but I think that if we could get a little bit of a pullback, I don't think the pullbacks are going to be super deep. As I said, I think sort of all these things will break at the same time. I think you'll see this move out to the top side here when we see DXY shoot dead to through that support. Though I wouldn't be surprised if we see a little bit of a US dollar sort of, you know, throw people off and have that sort of sort of throw people off and sort of have a little bit of a rally effort. Shake these things, shake the metal, shake the silver, shake the copper, the gold, the Aussie, these kind of things. Give ourselves some better entries and then resume the overall big picture. So I wouldn't be surprised if we can get back down to, you know, I mean, it's 400 points or so, back down to these 408s, maybe a sort of little support area through here. This is kind of area which I'll probably be willing to have a little bit of a go at, but again, it's a bit hard because this is so high up the top and that of this move. And like I said, with gold, like, you know, the profits don't belong to you just because you turned on the chart and saw it's in a super bullish mode, unless you're willing to sort of take some drawdown. Because you know what I mean, this thing, I think is definitely going higher, but it could also do this, then this. You know what I mean? If you're happy to carry some drawdown for a bit, then I'm sure given enough time, you'll sort of be correct with that one there. Anyway, all right, so I think that's it for the charts. A quick look, gold-silver ratio came down, bounced exactly where we sort of thought it would be, down at this 88 level, so that's it. We've, again, sort of like, you know, it's where have we seen them previously? Boom, 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 and we've seen it sort of hit down here. This move here gave gold and silver their big sort of pumps yesterday. It's just sort of consolidating here a little bit. It's oversold. Maybe we see a little bit of a push up, but again, second move down through here. This will be the, let's go call this one, okay. Just main supports. And then I think that'll be sort of when we see that next big leg. But I could see this as I said, a little bit oversold, maybe a little bit of a rally effort up here, and then sort of bang, push back down with the RSI. And then sort of we see these things move down. And really we'll just be targeting this large rising support. Okay, just quickly on news through the session. I don't think we've got much coming on. We got our inflation expectations for Aussie, no sort of forecasts for this. 1 second. Yeah, so inflation expectations, that has just come out. Aussie seems to have kicked up a little bit on that. so I missed by a couple of minutes, that's fine. Look, the rest of Asia doesn't really seem too much. Bit of China data coming out. Nothing sort of really super of note. And then we've got PPI tonight, so this will be the next little piece of the puzzle. So, look, this one again, this is PPI, so Producer Price Index. We had CPI for the consumer, so this is further up the stream. This is also looking to pretty much sort of level out in that. So, should this come in a little bit weaker as well? Well, that sort of feeds into the whole idea that the next CPI should effectively still be cooling because if the people that are producing this stuff are paying a little bit less, then hopefully that should trickle down and the end product should obviously be a little bit less as well. So these coming in at these levels or even cooler, that's US dollar weakness. Unemployment claims is one to watch. I don't know how much or when this all this sort of like government uh, trimming of the fat, so to speak, will sort of come through and sort of show up in these sort of numbers here. But when we see a big spike up in these numbers here, that's also going to be kind of bearish for US dollar as well. So, but looking to come in relatively flat. I mean, there's never huge shockers really with these sort of things. 14, 19, expected 17, 13, expected 13. Like they're pretty close with these ones. So this is the kind of stuff, the Aussie data people could probably take a leaf out of their book. And from that, not a great deal overnight. So that's pretty much it from me.